It's always great to catch up with our senior NFL analyst, former NFL wide receiver, Colorado Buffalo legend, Mike Pritchard, who joins us right now. And Mike, we were just talking about it last hour, and I'm glad we have you on today because this news comes out about your former teammate, Eric Bieniemy, and that he's pretty hard on his players. And this wasn't a leak to the media. No. This was the head coach of the Washington Commanders flat out saying so out there. And the line that really got Shaun kind of hot and bothered was about Eric's approach, and that Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator who's been a head coach before, has his own ways of kind of massaging issues. But Eric Bieniemy has not been a head coach. His line was, hey, this is it. This is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. Eric hasn't had that experience yet. So that was from Ron Rivera. As a former player and someone who knows Eric Bieniemy quite well, what do you make of what Ron Rivera said today?
Well, put it this way, I had a ton of respect for Ron Rivera because I think he's a trailblazer when it comes to being a head coach, a minority type of head coach situation. But my goodness, what he just did to Eric was a fireable offense. You have to be united as a coaching staff. You have to be on the same page. You have to present that to the players as if you're on the same page. But if you're taking sides, then what are you doing? As a bettor, this gives you so much information about that organization right now, right? Every man for himself mentality. Certainly, we know Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio boys. They've been boys for a long time. Eric's the outsider. Did Ron Rivera hire Eric, or was that a Mayhew hire from a GM standpoint, right? This is so much information that I think that is so valuable as a bettor. But away from that, on a personal level, certainly at a professional level, for somebody who, like you said, I know Eric very, very well, and for Ron Rivera to even come public with something that should be in-house, something that should be, behind closed doors, that is mind-boggling to me. Del Rio, he has not lived up to expectations as a defense coordinator, in my opinion, with that organization, and yet the scapegoat has always been the quarterback. It's always been somebody on the offensive side of the ball. We know Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded head coach, right? And the fact that he got coached by Mike Ditka, and then he's going to come out and say that Eric's too hard on his players or these guys are complaining, is mind-boggling to me. I have no idea why Ron Rivera would do something like this.
It's very interesting because I thought, and let me just say this, Rivera's been a head coach for 12 years. Pritch, 3 years, he's been above 500. 9 of those years of 12, he's been a 500 or below guy. Since he's been in Washington, 7-10, 7-9, 8-1. And I thought this was such a unique opportunity for him because in Eric Bieniemy coming over, who's not in your coaching tree, he's an Andy Reid guy. I would think he would soak up everything that Eric Bieniemy is attempting to create culture-wise because the Chiefs have proven no Tyreek Hill, greater player as he is, still win a championship. We draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire in front of Jonathan Taylor. He's not doing it. We'll start a 7th-round guy in Isaiah Pacheco because he's doing it the way we want to do. And I think their culture is one that every team should emulate. So for Rivera not to back that,
Yeah.
And I'm a person that's already leveraged on the Commanders because I think so highly of Eric and Sam Howell that I have over the win total. I have them to win the NFC East, even though it's a long shot with the Eagles looking really good. How can I back myself out of this corner? Or do you think at some point Josh Harris may decide to move away from Rivera and elevate Eric Bieniemy?
Well, Rivera has been in Washington and he's had a losing record. I'm just backing you up on what you just mentioned about, the fact that he hasn't had many winning seasons. And I've been on record here at the network and saying or suggesting that if everything goes wrong, then Eric, as an assistant head coach, will automatically become the head coach, right? And that is telling. Like, this is a guy that feels like he's threatened by Eric. And I don't get that from a head coach standpoint, especially when you've been coached by Mike Ditka. Ditka couldn't coach today. We know that. Jimmy Johnson couldn't coach today. We know that. Don Shula couldn't coach today because we know how intense these coaches were back in the day, right? But today's athletes are different. Eric is an old school coach. So who hired him, Ron Rivera? Was it you or was it Martin Mayhew, to change the culture, which the culture needs to be changed there. If you got guys complaining because the length of practice or the fact that you're hitting. And that's what's going on, the fact that you're hitting. And Eric wants to see how tough you are as an offensive player. If you're complaining about that in a sport in which your job is to hit somebody, then there's something wrong, right? And that's incredible. And the fact that Ron Rivera backs that up publicly with these players means every man for himself. He's already drawn that line in the sand. If everything goes south, at least I did my part. Me and Del Rio, we're buddy with everybody, but that was that guy's fault. And that's what is concerning personally for me and for Eric in his career. But as a bettor, I mean, I got so much information from what just emanated out of Washington today.
We're talking to Mike Pritchard, who was, once again, as we mentioned, played with Eric Bieniemy at Colorado, knows him well. And yeah, it's an interesting angle that you kind of point out is, hey, this is the new guy. We've got a new ownership situation kind of brewing here. So, looking at that division, we talked about the Cowboys extensively yesterday, and looking at the position that you know also well, the position that you played in the NFL, Pritch, the wide receiver position. What do you make of Dallas's wide receivers this year? Brandon Cooks comes in after being disgruntled last year in Houston. Michael Gallup is now a year plus removed from that ACL tear, and you've got CeeDee Lamb there. So it feels like there's a trickle-down effect of some others that, now you don't have to be the number 3 option. You can be the number 4 option, Jalen Tolbert or whoever it may be. What do you make of the Cowboys this year, and do you expect, even though they went 12-5 last year, maybe a jump in production offensively for this Cowboys team?
Yeah, you know what? I think production, I mean, they're one of the leading scoring offenses. We know that with Kellen Moore and all that. But they need to be more efficient, cut down on turnovers, and certainly move the chains. The third and long situations, you can count them, and they add up for Dallas offensively, the penalties, the lack of discipline and all that. So I'm looking for Dallas to be more efficient. And you can do that with this caliber receiver or this group of receivers in that room, Tim. I thought for Dallas to get to another level or even chase the Super Bowl, which that's the goal, as we know from Jerry Jones. And so I thought that if they went after a guy like D-Hop, right, and added him to the mix, they had the salary cap, they had the room, that would have really bolstered that room a little bit more and make it look different, make it appear to be different. But I think they have enough in that room along with the running game to be efficient. I mean, they're going to lean on their defense. We know that, right? I mean, that defense is going to be all world. It should be. We think the world of the defense coordinator and certainly all the personnel that they have out there in Dallas. If they can eliminate the turnovers, be more efficient, make sure that they score in the red zone, I think the Cowboys are going to be okay.
Speaking of their skill guys, rank Brandon Cooks for me. I thought that was like low-key a huge addition for them. Is he a 1 in the National Football League in 2023?
He's a deep threat. I wouldn't say a 1. I mean, the 1, CeeDee Lamb's the 1, the go-to guy. Dak's going to look for him. They're going to have him involved in the game plan each and every week. Brandon Cooks is going to be involved. Don't get me wrong when I say that about CeeDee Lamb, but I think Cooks is a game breaker. He's a deep threat. He's a guy that could be a decoy at times for underneath stuff to the tight end as well as CeeDee Lamb. But no, I think Cooks is going to command attention. He's going to have to. He's going to occupy safeties. That speed is something that's been very consistent in his career, throughout his entire career. So they're looking for that element, I think, for the Cowboys this coming season, Shaun and Tim, and hopefully that helps them out, because without that, Dallas is really looking at an uphill battle. I think Cooks is another dimension for that offense.
Just to put a bow on that, what's their ceiling to you? Like, when you look at this Cowboys, you look at the competition in the NFC, what's their ceiling?
Well, they are in the top 4. Eagles, Cowboys, you got the 49ers, and also you got the Seattle Seahawks in terms of the race in the NFC. I think Dallas can get to a Super Bowl. I really do. I think that defense is that potent. I think the potential for what they have on that side of the ball is unlike any other defense we'll see this year, including the 49ers.
He is Mike Pritchard, our senior VSIN analyst, former NFL wide receiver, proud Colorado Buffalo. Back to the Big 12, too. He's happy about that. Pritch, appreciate it as always.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.